Mr. Speaker, to the Prime Minister, after analyzing his government's infrastructure promises, we now know why there's been so little real construction. It was his cabinet ministers arguing among themselves that has delayed things for months. Of the top 10 ridings in Ontario receiving infrastructure funds, 4 are represented by his cabinet ministers, including the minister responsible, the Minister for Transportation, and a 5th by his parliamentary secretary. How does the Prime Minister explain to 408,000 Canadian families who became unemployed since last fall that his cabinet is too busy trying to buy votes to create the jobs that are needed?
Well, in fact, Mr. Speaker, we, of course, are not a government that makes decisions unilaterally. We work with other premiers, like Premier Williams, perhaps, Premier McGuinty, Premier Dewar, as he then was, municipal leaders of all political stripes, Mr. Speaker, on these projects. And indeed, they are going across this land, not only in the ridings that he mentioned, but of course, last weekend, more projects for Cape Breton, Halifax. New projects for Toronto, Mr. Speaker. $500 million for more than 500 projects throughout the 416 region, Mr. Speaker. That's what we're doing for Canada. That's what we're doing for these regions, and we're proud.
The honourable member for Parkdale High Park.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate the Prime Minister stayed glued to his seat because the minister that got up gave himself 28 projects, 5 times as many projects to fix recreation centres as the average. And across the country, Mr. Speaker, the Ministers of Transportation's riding and his 2 colleagues in Ottawa have an unemployment rate 1/2 of that of the rest of the province, and yet they're giving themselves 2 to 4 times as much money for infrastructure stimulus. They're leaving 400,000 people, a workforce the size of New Brunswick, abandoned across the country. Mr. Speaker, when his cabinet minister stimulating the country, why should anybody trust this government to help?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're all proud of our constituencies. I'm proud of the hard work that I do for the people of Perry Muskoka, but perhaps the Honourable Member would like to know that the highest per capita spending anywhere in the country on our infrastructure is Windsor, Ontario, Mr. Speaker. Everybody gets the benefit, Mr. Speaker. That's why this government is a government for all of the people.